On behalf of the Institute for Leadership and Strategic Foresight, welcome to So You Want to Be the Chief, a podcast for leaders.
I have I'll say young lady because everybody that I know is younger than I am, so she must be a young lady. She is Colonel Christina Perez on the show today. An interesting person, especially since she is married to a Chief Master Sergeant, Felipe Perez, who I interviewed a couple of episodes ago. And I wondered, how is this? Colonel, good to see you. Welcome to the show. We know who runs the household no matter what. So is the chief saluting you constantly, or do you give him some grace?
He does salute me when we're in public, that's for sure, because we're not exempt from, our customs and courtesies, but not inside the house. Inside the house, I mean, I'm looking at him. He's sitting here in the corner, and he's still my husband. He may not be Chief Perez, but he is Mr. Perez and
Yeah.
the head of our household. So yes.
Yeah. In other words, he bows to you when the queen walks in. I got it. I got it. As I told him when we chatted, Deb and I have been together 47 wonderful and fulfilling years. So I know how to be humble. I have practiced it for 47 years. So, and now I'm not going to say that I'm good at it, but I try. Anyway, as I recall, now correct me because I'm old and I forget. But Felipe said that y'all met. He was already in service. You were not, and then you decided to come into the Air Force, and then eventually became an officer. And what did you do, or what do you do? Because you're on active duty right now, right?
I am on active duty. So we actually met at my first assignment, which was Ellsworth Air Force Base, South Dakota, and that was Chief Perez's second assignment. So it was, I think I've been there maybe like my second day on the base, going through at the time the right start briefing for the base, and we met at the education center. Yeah, so that's where it all started.
And it's the uniform, right? It's the
Yes.
uniform. A young lady sees a young man in uniform, and you got to marry him. You just got to do that.
Yeah, but I was an airman basic when
Okay.
when we met, and I was um, a supply apprentice. This was back in the days when we didn't have the logistics readiness squadron. We had the supply squadron, and
Yeah.
then we had transportation squadron, and then we also had fuel squadron. Understanding that now they're all in one
Right.
one umbrella. So
Right. Well, and having served 50 years altogether, ma'am, that changes every other day.
yep.
Yeah, we're together. No, we're not. Hey, I got a great idea. Let's split everybody. Okay, we'll do that for 10 years. And then, oh, hey, I
Yeah.
got a great idea. Let's put everybody back together. Yes. But nonetheless, we get the job done, and that's the important thing. So now, are you in supply now,
I
or?
am not. When I was enlisted at the time, I started working on my undergrad, but I majored in information systems. And with that, when I decided to actually cross over, I said cross over to the dark side, and I say that
I
with a
say
lot of love,
defected.
right?
I say defected because we know.
I had three choices. I had asked to be a communications officer, finance officer, or acquisition, with communications as my, I believe it was my top preference or first choice. And when I got selected for OTS, they told me I was going to be a 33S3, which at the time that was the Air Force specialty code for communications officer. So I was selected in 2002 to go to OTS. I went to OTS in January of 2003, and that's when I got commissioned is April of 2003. So almost 5 years of enlisted years before I became an officer. And I'm what am I at 27 years, I think. I'm approaching 27 years or
Yeah,
just hit 27 years. It goes by so quick.
it does.
I guess time flies when you're having fun, right?
Yes. Well, and unfortunately, you'll find out in about 30 years, it flies no matter what, whether you're having
It
fun or
does.
not. It just flies. Now, what is your nationality? Where are you from?
I was born and raised in the Philippines.
Oh,
And interestingly enough, when I tell people my home state, they kind of give me this weird look. But I moved from the Philippines to Kodiak, Alaska,
oh
which
gosh.
is where I lived for about 5 years before I enlisted in the Air Force. So yeah, my parents were there, immigrated from the Philippines to Alaska, and from there I enlisted. I went to Anchorage, which was where the MEPS was, and then uh, got stationed in Ellsworth Air Force Base, South Dakota, which is
Yeah.
where Chief Perez and I met.
Wow, you just like the cold weather, I guess, huh?
I actually was asking to go to California. I thought I
Yeah.
had put all California bases there because I always wanted to go, and I thought that's really where the place to be.
Yeah.
Wanted to be somewhere warm. But they didn't send me to San Diego. They sent me to SD, South Dakota.
Uh, fairly, fairly close. I mean, it's only a couple thousand miles off. Yeah. Well, let me do this because I love to show off my Tagalog prowess.
Oh,
And
okay.
let me do this. Subuk na batibay, subuk na batatag. Angko
Subok na mat
Pilipino.
Yeah, subok na matibay, meaning like proven, strong. And you said subok ma
I
like
got to do the whole
firm.
thing. I
Yeah.
can't break it down. I only it was a commercial for Banco Filipino back in the 70s. And that's the only Tagalog I learned. I was there twice. And
Okay.
I should have learned some other words, but I didn't. Uh, Although I was kind of a semi-celebrity because everybody asked me, and at the time it was Romeo Vasquez, who was a big singing star, movie star, whatever. And
Yeah.
everyone with all the Filipinos, and they were great, wonderful people, would ask me, "Are you related?" I said, "Of course I am. He's my cousin." Oh, and then they treated me like a celebrity. I never met him, but I don't know if he's still alive, but he must have been pretty good anyway. Uh, well, to the topic that we wanted to discuss about being a good chief. Now, so you have a little bit of a enlisted experience. Surely you saw a chief or two when you were a young airman, and I don't know if this went through you to your mind, but when I was a young, probably a senior NCO, I always wondered what did those guys do? They were around and all that stuff, but I never really interacted with many, and but there was kind of a secret society type thing that, oh, ooh, there's a chief, big deal. Was it that way when you first came in as an airman?
Yeah, when I first came in, and I think this is probably true for any of our airmen, right? Just coming out of basic training or tech school, is you do see, I guess any senior NCOs for that matter, right? Anybody who has a roof, on their stripes, it is very intimidating. And seeing a chief, is and pardon me, but it's like almost seeing God, right? Like there are a lot of them at the time, intimidating and approachable. And I my first probably my first encounter of dealing or speaking to a chief, I was an airman first class, again at my first base at Ellsworth Air Force Base, South Dakota. And it was actually our group chief, Chief Baker. I remember his name, but he would stop by in the warehouse, just unannounced, just walking around and saying hello to an airman like myself. And I think that was, to me, very eye opener. Like, oh, they're just like normal people. It's so
Mhm.
cool, that
Yeah.
they could just stop by and talk to the airmen like normal people. So, in a way, like, I mean, the fear factor is still there because of just the utmost respect, right? That I had for and I have for the rank. But I think at that point it made me realize that, hey, a lot of them are actually approachable. A lot of them, um, led by example, but again, just showing their presence to the airmen in the squadron. Like he did not know me from Adam, right? I didn't need anything from him, but I guess at that point as well, he remembered my name. My last name at the time was it's kind of long, Peña Mora was my maiden name. And I remember seeing him at another event, and he called me out by name. We were not in uniform. I think it was like a squadron picnic or group picnic, but he yelled my last name. And to me, that was, I don't know, it was pretty impressive because I'm sure he meets a lot of people all
Yeah.
the time. And for him to remember my last name and call me out, it was like, man, this chief is pretty cool, you know,
Yeah.
and it's really inspiring. And quite frankly, at one point I thought that that's the route that I was gonna take as well. It's like, man, I could be a chief, you know,
Hmm.
a chief in the Air Force. That would be so cool to just be able to reach that rank, and not so much for, you know, the prestige of it, but it's just the ability to influence and impact careers and lives. I thought that
Yeah.
was awesome.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I believe, ma'am, and if nothing else, your chief, your husband can tell you, uh, we chiefs in particular become fixers, and that's what I still am. You know, I get very frustrated, particularly with my lovely bride at 47 wonderful and fulfilling years, when she complains about something, and because I'll fix it. And then 2 minutes later, she said, Did you make that call?" "Yeah, baby, I fixed it." "Well, you didn't have to do." "No, baby, that's what I do." You know, the boss comes in, "Chief, this is busted." I make a phone call. I do whatever I got to do to fix it. That's what we eventually become, you know, and that's the fun of it, I think. You know, I've had some calls from some, well, I'll tell you. One, I was in Germany. I was the deputy director for family support. That's important. Family support deputy director. It's about 1900 or so, and I get a phone call, and it's the lady that runs the Golden Flow program. You know, the pee in the bottle, whatever we call it. I don't know what
Yes.
they. And she says, "Chief, I need a Coke machine in my building." "Okay, ma'am, but do you know this is Chief Vasquez? I'm in family support. I don't have anything to do with Coke machines, you know." She says, "I know, but nobody else will help me." "Okay, let me make some phone calls and I'll get back to you in the morning." So I did make some phone calls to AFIs and all that. And by noontime, she calls me back. She can't stop giving me accolades. "Chief, you're so wonderful. Blah 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 blah. I got the Coke machine. Blah blah." And she, you know, sometimes when you got to go, you don't go. You know, especially when you got to pee in the bottle. So she needed the drinks for people to drink and get the juices literally flowing. But I thought, you know, I felt good that although I had nothing to do with it, she knew that a chief will take care of me. Let me find a chief. And it happened to be next door. So that's what we do. We're fixers. Now, and that's, I think, the value and the importance of it is going to be, ma'am, that we see that young airman and we go up to him or her and uh, start developing the trust that all of us should have. You know, yeah, I'll take care of you. I don't know you, but I'll take care of you. Give me your name, give me your phone number, and I'll give the phone call back whenever it's taken care of. So that's the fun of it. Now, since then, you've had some experience. And now, what is your position now? Are you a commander?
I'm actually I'm on staff at headquarters Air Force, and I oversee enterprise information technology investments for the Air Force. And so it's a multi-billion dollar portfolio. So any, you know, to simplify it, any of your collaborative tools, any information technology capabilities that we implement across the Air Force falls under my portfolio. But I am heading out here in about a month to the United Kingdom to be the Deputy Wing Commander of the 501st Combat Support Wing at RAF Fairford.
Oh my gosh, congratulations.
Yeah,
That's going to
thank
be
you.
so much fun. And you will have a bunch of chiefs around there. Probably some of them telling you what to do and I know you'll put them down real quickly and that's okay. Sometimes we
It's a team effort,
it
Chief. It's
is.
a team effort.
It is. But you know, sometimes in fact in my book So You Want to Be the Chief, the first lesson is you are not the boss. You know, because we think because I'm the top 1%. Well, you know what? That second lieutenant that just graduated from the Air Force Academy 2 weeks ago outranks you.
Yeah,
That's humbling, but that's true, and that's the way it should be.
it's to that point, I just remember when I first crossed over, and a lot of prior enlisted officers can probably relate to this. is because I spent the first 5 years as an enlisted person. I mean, and I saw the chief, right? Like the chief is the top rank in on the enlisted side, and you address the chief as sir or ma'am. And so I remember as a second lieutenant walking around the squadron, and Chief Bland was one of the chiefs there, and he was explaining to me about one of the work centers. And I just found myself saying, yes, sir, yes, chief, yes, sir. And I think after the first 2 minutes of that conversation with him, he looked at me and said, Lieutenant Perez, ma'am, like you don't have to call me sir. You could say yes, chief. And I think I responded with yes, sir,
Yeah.
and it was just it was a more challenging, I guess, transition for me, right? Because it didn't just happen overnight. But I think with that as well, what I take out of that is that it didn't matter that I was prior enlisted, second lieutenant. I knew the value that our senior NCOs and our chief master sergeants bring to the table. So as I was learning about this new career field, this new job, I made sure that I found that chief, that master sergeant, who I could um, just learn from, right?
Right. Yeah.
I always knew which ones got the respect or had the respect of our both enlisted and officers, not because of their rank or their position, but just because of their character, because of their leadership style. There's many of them, that are, I'll say a master sergeant, right? A master sergeant doesn't have to be the flight chief, or yeah, or the superintendent, and still um, have that influence and respect
Yeah.
of the people. And I think that was one of the things I wanted to emulate. Like, how do I get that? How do I have that that respect where our team, right? Any of my team members is ready to follow me
Yeah.
anywhere,
Yeah.
anytime. And so that to me, that was a goal to have, right? To
Right.
pursue is to have that leadership style.
Yeah.
And I had a couple of chiefs, and I had a couple of master sergeants that I know were truly influential in molding me as a leader, as a young second lieutenant.
Yeah, in particular, and I think you know that I've written a few books. One of them for lieutenants, Air Power: 8 Basic Habits of Exceptionally Powerful Lieutenants. The last lesson is hang on tight. Find an enlisted person that will take you under their wing and teach you the ropes and do all of those things. Invariably, I get notes, or when I'm talking to people, lieutenants, about it. How do we do that, Chief? What are we looking for? And I always tell them exactly what you said, ma'am. You'll know. I guess I could probably kind of figure out, but it doesn't work. It's not a formula as such. It's
It,
something spiritual, I think, that you
it's
know.
not. Yeah, I think there's a sense of authenticity
Mm,
that just comes across, right? Like these are individuals that are just genuinely, they genuinely care about their airmen. They genuinely care about the team. They genuinely care about our airmen and their families. And, those are things that, you can talk about it at Airman Leadership School, at NCO Academy, um, but you'll know
mm,
when you see it because it's
yeah,
it's happening in real time
right, right. Or not.
or not,
You can. There are some people that you
or
say,
not.
"Oh man,
Yeah.
I'm not sure
How
I can."
exactly.
You can still learn from them, but maybe how not to lead, how not to do
Absolutely.
the things.
I
So,
agree.
yeah. So you're going into this high-level senior position shortly. What will you be looking for in the chiefs, man? What do you think makes a good chief slash leader? Like you say, it doesn't have to be the chief, but that's the group that we're talking to right now, as a leader, and whether it's enlisted, and I would say probably officer as well. What are you looking for as a person who might be able to lead and who you can trust to lead?
I think for a chief, and this really applies to the command team, is having that sense of servant leadership. I think that no matter what your rank is, but especially when you are getting promoted and you're at that senior level, it's so easy for the position, right, to get in your head. In fact, I think sometimes we do it to ourselves, right? Because, like the commander, the chief, they will have their aide or their secretary, and things are um, being done or taken care of for them, which, I appreciate that, but I'm looking for, again, that authenticity that our why, the reason why we're here is to continue to serve our airmen. In fact, without our airmen, we don't really have a job, right? We don't
Oh,
we
really?
don't really have a position.
Yeah.
And as early on as a squadron commander, I probably had that realization, that epiphany, maybe like the third day on the job, that this is so humbling. I didn't realize of how much of myself I'm giving or have to give to my airmen, to the squadron, in order to be effective in the job. And I think that I'm hoping that the chiefs that are in those positions, whether it's a command chief or group chief level, really chief at the squadron level as well, is walking the walk, right? Like we are here to serve. And I know that sometimes it is difficult to do that with the complexity of the environment that we're in. I think this is such a unique time to lead uh, an organization like the Air Force, right? No matter what level you are, tactical, operational, or strategic, there's so much uncertainties, and when executive orders drop, right, it's instant. In fact, sometimes it comes out in the morning, and you're expected to provide additional guidance by lunchtime, which um, we're seeing. And this is not a political comment. It's just an observation that, hey, as leaders, we have to be prepared. Doesn't matter if you're an officer or a commander or the chief, but just being available for our airmen to help make sense of things when things are uncertain, and things are happening in real time. And so it's a lot of words to say that it's servant. I'm looking for that servant leadership. I'm looking for the flexibility, and looking for really a teammate, right?
Mhm.
Because I too, as an officer, I need to talk to someone as well. Sometimes I
Right.
don't know what to do.
Right.
Sometimes I also can't make sense of the situation. And I'll tell you that my chief, right, who's my wingman, has helped me during those situations, and I hope that I've done the same, or been available, right, for my chief as well.
Yeah. And who is your chief now, right now, ma'am?
So in on the staff, we actually have a lot of well, not a lot, but a few master sergeants in this unit. But in this new capacity, we have a chief master sergeant. Melissa Robbins is going to be coming in as the command chief. She's coming out of Fairchild.
Oh,
Yep, and we have
okay.
Colonel Mike Jewell, also prior enlisted. He was a prior cop, security forces, and he's going to be the wing commander. So it's a new team,
Yeah.
new team, but between myself, the wing commander, and the wing command chief. So
Yeah.
it'll
Yeah.
be it'll be fun.
Yeah. It will be. I was the first senior enlisted advisor to the commander of the 91st Air Refueling Wing at Fairchild when it
Okay,
became the 91st
yeah,
Refueling Wing, long, long time ago. So we have a connection. I'll have to connect with her and have her on the show, as well as the colonel eventually. Now, in my perspective, man, my experience, uh, the Chiefs are going to, I don't know that they hang out. They don't hang out. They connect a lot more with the vice than with the commander a lot of times because we know who's running the place. We know who has a vision. We know who gives us the orders. That's the boss, the commander. But the vice is the one that gets things done. And
yeah. I've heard that as well. I
yeah,
think, and interesting enough, my future boss here, the inbound wing commander, he's actually a deputy wing commander at the moment
okay.
at I think he's at Vandenberg, if I'm not mistaken. But he told me one thing, and he said that the deputy wing commander position is You're the person who's making things happen, but without your picture on the wall.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. That's true. So, my sense is that you'll have a lot of interaction with that group of chiefs there on base eventually. So, just be prepared for that. Well,
Absolutely.
I know you got stuff going on, and again, congratulations on the new promotion to. And I tell everybody, you hang with the chief. That would be me. You get promoted. So here you go. More proof. Good luck with all of that stuff, which means that you're going to be staying for at least another 3 or 4 years on active duty.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then what? Or do you have any idea?
I'm hoping to get opportunity, if I'm able to pull it off, is actually go to USAFE,
Okay.
USAFE A6, after that. But there's opportunities as well in other match comms. But
Yeah.
I figured, with the knowledge and experience that I'll gain there in that position, that could easily translate,
Right.
and be, I can expand on that
Right.
within the USAFE theater. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
And then your husband will be a dependent by that time, hanging on,
He
going
will
wherever you
be,
want.
yes, he will be with Chief Master Sergeant Perez retired.
Retired, yeah, yeah. Well, I thank both of you for your service and for your connection. We become family more and more, and I want to count you as that. And I will take credit for any of your successes, just so you know that. So if you can't remember who that chief was that told you,
Yeah.
just use my name. Nobody will know the difference anyway.
Yeah, Chief
But
Vasquez told me, and
yeah,
so you want to be a chief?
yeah, that's it. That's it. Again, thank you very much, Colonel Christina Perez, and hang in there, have fun. God bless you.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate you.